all cultures all over the world, they honor their landscape in the culture. कहीं पे भी आप चले जाओ, if you go to Delhi, there'll be songs about the Yamuna. There'll be stories about the Yamuna, right? If you go to Hyderabad, there are songs, poetry, folklore, architecture, all related to the rocks. Food. Patthar ka gosht is a wonderful dish in Hyderabad. That's cooked on hot stone, right? So that discovery was really very joyful, understanding that it was wonderful. And so I keep saying this journey of this film, this 13, 12, 13-year-old journey, it's been like a split personality journey.
Hi friends, welcome to the Aspire and Acquire podcast. I'm your host Sandeep Suri. Join me for listening to some incredible stories about some of the best professionals from very diverse fields like combat flying, robotic surgery, dancing, tea farming, journalism, deep sea diving, and so on. These accomplished professionals are not just outstanding in their jobs, but also have unique stories to share with us. We have tried to make the show truly global by having these guests from different parts of the world. The creative world isn't just about art. It's a reflection of our shared humanity, a powerful medium to spark conversations, shape perspectives, and ignite change. Today, we dive into the fascinating realm of creativity, storytelling, and filmmaking, a space where art meets impact and ideas come alive on screen and stage. The creative industry goes far beyond entertainment. It's about preserving culture, amplifying voices, and inspiring action. Welcome to another episode of Aspire and Acquire. Our guest today has seamlessly navigated this dynamic world, leaving her mark across continents. From film production and media training to theater and advocacy, she is a true testament to the transformative power of storytelling. Meet Uma Magal, a filmmaker, educator, and cultural advocate whose achievements are as remarkable as her passion for storytelling. Uma co-produced and co-directed the acclaimed feature documentary The Players, later acquired by NDTV, a sought-after anchor, presenter, and moderator at diverse festivals and conferences. She is currently immersed in the outreach program for the other Kohinoors, the Rocks of Hyderabad, and has begun research for a film on the Dublin Irish landscape. Uma's contributions extend to academia and publishing. As the secretary of the International Asian Film Society, she supported the publication of the journal Asian Cinema. She has presented at numerous conferences and written extensively on film and theater for renowned publications such as The Hindu, The Helka, and so on. Her co-authored book, Rasayana for Childcare, Joy of Herbs and Healing, explores the use of medicinal plants for holistic wellness. So without further ado, let's begin our conversation with Uma. Let's welcome Uma, a filmmaker, educator, and cultural advocate whose journey is as inspiring as the stories she tells. Hi, Uma. Thanks for joining
Hi,
the
Sandeep.
show. Let's kick things off.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, you're most welcome. It's our pleasure to have you. We shall start with your backstory a little bit. What first sparked your interest in filmmaking and the creative arts? Was it a particular moment or influence that set you on this path?
I've always been sort of in this mode of, doing plays and theater and all, in Delhi as a college student, then in Hyderabad. But film actually, there was the Indian Film Festival, International Film Festival of India that happened in Hyderabad in those days. This was many years back.
Right.
And I had attended that. And I was so inspired by the films. I said, ye bhi bahut achhi cheez hai. We must try this,
Right.
And so that's how it started. I then decided to go into film. That's how it began.
Okay. So your academic background spans several fields and institutions, and we've spoken about this during our introduction segment. How did these diverse experiences shape your approach to storytelling and filmmaking?
Hmm. Yeah, there's the formal education, which is the bachelor's and the master's and, the fine
Right.
arts degree and all that. And then there's the real life education, which was in the theater, in life, with family, so there's two aspects to it. And I would say that all of it really inputs, what one wants to say, how one says it, and what one thinks even, right?
Mhm.
So that I would say, I'd say, of course, communication and filmmaking, film production, that's basic. That was what gave me the skills and all that, both in India, I was at Jamia, and of course in America.
Yeah.
And then teaching there in America also helped me learn. When you have to teach, you have to be, you have to reach a certain degree of insight. And so that was very helpful to help, that process of understanding the subject and the discipline. And then, just the Paul Science degree, I feel I did bachelor's and master's in Paul Science. I feel that was very, very useful to me because it grounds you in, real understanding of how society is, how politics is. And that I'm very grateful to that, to
Hmm.
give me some kind of, perspective on how things work and how I should say something so that it doesn't sound empty, that it's rooted in some kind of reality. तो ये है and then theater, doing so many plays, reading so many, writers, that all adds to how you understand the world, gives you some basic um, insights into people, the world, and things like that. So I would say all of it sort of, just added and helped me grow and have something to say.
Yeah. So the moot question here is, it just fell into the the sequence, or it was more like planned that way?
अरे बाप रे, totally unplanned.
Ah, there you go. That's what I wanted to learn. Okay. Right, right.
Yeah, my dad, bless him, he wanted me to do IFS. So that's why I did the
Ah,
pol science.
okay.
Um, in Delhi as well as in Hyderabad. And
Right,
then that film festival, theater to chali raha tha har jagah.
right,
But that film festival se jab film ka, wo ek bhoot sawar ho gaya. So
right.
then that was just really something that I really got after. And so then that happened. I went to Delhi to the Jamia Millia. It had the premier course in
Yeah,
communications at that time, and did that. Then I realized it was a fantastic course. It was a
right.
fantastic foundation for communication.
Yeah,
But I realized they didn't do much film itself. So that's how I went to America to do films, to study film. And then that happened. Then teaching happened. And it all was
right.
very organic, along with family life, along with, learning, So yeah, it was very unplanned. It happened
Yeah, so
one
it was
thing
just
after the other.
happening and you were not even aware of. And then you realized,
It,
oh, okay, I've done this, I've done that. Let me now start my first film, or let me start my first theater show, etc. So that's how it panned out, right? Looks like.
Yeah, there was some intention also, some thought also, but
Yeah.
and some desire also that moved me.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the whole, it was all, it just I went with the flow. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay. So earning an MFA from Temple University and working on a PBS series must have been transformative for you. What were your key takeaways from those experiences?
Oh my God, it was just fantastic. I would say the most important thing at Temple University was, the peers in the classroom. I learned so much from my fellow students, and that's
Mm.
why um, going to a place where there are many types of people is always very useful. You just sort of grow in
Yeah.
your understanding of where different people come from, what are their realities, how do you understand the world. Yeah, it was really a marvelous experience. And the PBS show was amazing because it was for sixth graders, and it was amazing interacting with these children.
Wow.
And it was a real education for me because I traveled to all these little towns in Ohio with the team, with the crew. And then first we had to ask the children to come up with story ideas. and that would be a classroom session, and then they would do these amazing stories,
Hmm.
and then they would write it. We would help
And
them
they,
write it.
and
Then we
those
went
stories were
back.
just those stories were just extempore. It was
Yeah,
not.
in the
Oh.
classroom, we
Oh.
workshopped with them. In
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
classroom, the teacher was there, and I was there. I did an initial visit to see what are they interested in, what is interesting in their towns.
Hmm.
Like, there was an Amelia Earhart flying museum in that town. I forget now which town in Ohio. It was a
Right.
small town, but it was
Hmm.
wonderful because I didn't know myself. There was this woman who flew the plane, before so many other people, and there's a museum in her honor in that town. So, and you will understand this, Sandeep, because you fly yourself. So it was very exciting. And
Yeah.
we did a story on that, for instance, and all kinds of things. There were all kinds of stories they would come up with. And then we workshop with them to make it tight and, a narrative that could be filmed. And then we went back with the crew, the camera person, and all the next week, and we filmed their stories. Then they came back to the studio in the PBS station in Ohio. This was Bowling Green, Ohio.
Hmm.
And that was wonderful because the PBS station person who designed this was a genius, because this made the families of these students, these towns, all connect with the PBS station. You see,
Yeah.
इतना अच्छा PR इससे अच्छा नहीं हो सकता, right?
Correct.
That your
Correct.
children are making the program, that the children are coming into the studio, they're being trained, they're being taught, they're being listened to. It was wonderful. And the children would come into the studio, and then we would do a live broadcast where, we would plug in the stories they did, and they would, in the studio, do the anchoring of it, as a
Oh,
live broadcast. It was
so
marvelous.
yeah,
It
that
was
must be
just
an
one of the
awesome
best.
experience, right?
It was amazing. And I just come to America, so it was a huge learning for me.
Right.
I wish in India we did things like this. It
Yeah.
would be so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a real learning, and it was a beautiful experience. I could see America. I interacted with children and townspeople. But it was
Yeah.
really wonderful.
True. Okay, let's talk about media literacy and community empowerment now. You have worked extensively in media literacy, particularly with disenfranchised communities. How do you see media as a tool for empowerment? What kind of role the media is playing?
And that's a great question, Sandeep. In our world today, media is all over, na? You can't escape. There's no escaping it. So this
Mm.
started almost, 20 years ago when I was working in this. It was more an idea of making people literate about the media, how to read the media, how to assess who's telling the story and what is their agenda.
Hmm.
So this is a very important thing now. I think we're much more savvy. Those days it was not. All these things were still coming up. And so it
Right.
was important to educate people and make them literate about how to read a message, how to read a piece of communication. So ye tha goal.
Hmm.
Then there was this wonderful organization called the Scribe Media Center in Philadelphia,
Okay.
and they asked me to join as a facilitator for community groups, to help them make their own videos, to use video as a tool for their issues.
Uh-huh.
So, for instance, I love this, and I'm still in touch with those women. I'm still friends with those women. It's
Hmm.
wonderful. This was called the Worthy Wage Program, for instance. This is one of the programs.
Okay.
And this was a group of daycare workers in the US, है ना?
Hmm.
And they were like they were working together to raise respect for daycare workers. You know how we all have attitude ki we won't
Right.
leave our children there. They are just, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
safe enough. Some
Correct.
people, there is that little
Hmm.
bit of
Stigma. Yeah.
hesitation
Yeah.
about doing that. And these daycare workers were wonderful women, and they were saying, treat us well, give us the respect, we are caring for your children. Those were their
Oh,
issues, and they were
yeah.
trying to make a case for, if there are better conditions, the whole society benefits.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
children are looked after properly, they are raised properly. You know how it is. You are,
Yeah.
Sandeep is so wise and intelligent, you will realize all this yourself, so I don't need to say too much. So
Mm.
the video was, but they didn't know how to make films, right? So then this Scribe Media Center assigned facilitators like me, two groups that we felt strongly about. And my baby was then just a few months old. So I was
Oh,
very, very interested in the topic.
Yeah.
It was a perfect match. And so
Correct.
we made this video called the Worthy Wage video. It's wonderful. It's even now used in the Worthy Wage campaign by the daycare workers, by their whole
I see.
society at a national level in the US. So it was
Mm.
very, very, very educative, a joy. It was very sort of, it helped me clarify my own thoughts about how should we work with daycare? What are the
Yeah.
issues in daycare? How will my child benefit? What are the
Yeah.
things that need improvement? How to respect this job, so that was one
And
of the
these,
most wonderful
yeah, and
experiences.
these topics generally resonate very well with the audience, right? Because they can connect with
Yeah,
this.
we
Yeah.
all have children.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
children, in the
Exactly.
extended family that we need to help raise. And so, yeah, you're right.
Mm. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your teaching passion. From the US to India, you have taught at prestigious institutions. What has been your most rewarding teaching experience, and how do you approach mentoring young storytellers?
Oh my God, that's been a huge journey.
Mm.
And it started because in the US, both Ashwini, my husband, and I, we
Right.
went as students.
Hmm.
We met there actually as students.
Okay.
And you know how in the US, if you want help in paying for the fees and all that, right? Tuition
Yeah.
waivers,
Yeah.
an assistantship, stuff like that, a scholarship, then you have to also contribute to the work that the
Correct.
college requires done. So they had asked me to teach, to be an assistant teacher to a proper professor, you know, um,
Yeah.
and teach. And that's where this teaching journey began.
Mm.
It was so wonderful. It was so much fun. And of course, it was lovely that it was giving me money to live, so I was even more,
Yeah.
I found
Thrilled
it
about
even
it.
more
Yeah.
valuable, Hannah, and paying for my education. So it was, all in all, it was a very powerful thing for me to be part of this. And the teaching itself, Sandeep, I can't tell you, it was such a discovery to
Mm.
love to teach. And when I used to leave the classroom, it was as if I was floating, it was so
All right.
wonderful
And you
because
were
it's a
doing this at the
subject you
university
love.
level?
Yeah, yeah. This was all at the university,
Wow.
at Temple University, then at
Yeah. Yeah.
San Francisco State University in the Department of Broadcast Education. So, yeah, I've taught at
Interesting.
various places. Then in India, of course, at Annapurna Film School.
Yeah.
In Bangalore, there's a college called Comets,
Comments. Yeah.
where I taught for the longest time. When I first came back to India, that's where I started teaching.
Mm.
So yeah, it's just a very, rewarding thing to engage with young minds, to convey what you know and learn from them as well. You know, I had so many questions about India because I was coming back as an adult. I had left as a young person.
Hmm.
And so it was very interesting to me to hear the children, the students, and how they react to current India and the other faculty. It was all just an absolutely amazing experience. I
Yeah.
love to teach. That was a discovery that really it has held me in good stead my whole life.
Interesting. Yeah. So there's a lot of interplay, I believe, between theater and stage, right? So theater has played a significant role in your creative journey. How has your work on stage influenced your filmmaking and vice versa?
Interesting. I think, of course, directly they're both creative. You have
Yeah.
to make something. So that's, yeah, of course, the first step. But I think in a more deep way, like, my last film, Other Kohinoor is the current film I made, but the previous one was in Bangalore actually, with a
Mhm.
dear friend called Gautam Sonti, and we made this film called Players
Yeah.
on a rural theater institute in Karnataka at a place called Hegodu. The institute is called Ninasam. It's world class. It's simply world class.
Mm.
And, I met world class people, uh, artists there in the course of making this film, and they said theater doesn't just teach you, the immediate creative process and how to do theater and how to communicate and all that is part of it, of course. It
Mm.
goes almost without saying, but it taught us how to live. And that I think is the biggest takeaway for me from theater and from film. The best theater, the best films, they teach you how to live.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, Sandeep. I was just listening on, these Insta reels. There's some lady who's interviewed Denzel Washington.
Uh-huh.
And he said something so beautiful. It's just stayed with me. I was just listening to it this morning while waiting for
Uh-huh.
you and waiting for us to start.
Right.
And he said the first years of the lady was asking him, how does acting, what advice would you give to actors and theater and film people and all? He says, learn, learn, learn. The first part of your life is learning how to do it.
Yeah.
The second part of your life is doing it well, getting the rewards, etc. Right? And the
Mhm.
third part of your life is returning.
Yeah.
Is to
It is
return
so
to
important. Absolutely.
society. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You learn, you do, and then you return. And
Um,
I think that's like really something. See, that these are the kind of things that theater and films and filmmakers and artists teach you. Yeah. So I think that's like really the biggest, at a deep level, that's what it is.
yeah. So, since we're talking about the players, can you tell us about the process of creating the players and any challenges and highlights stand out from that project in your mind?
Yeah, my gosh, it was a challenging project because the way this Ninasam, the institute works,
Yeah.
and it's really wonderful. It's world class. I can't emphasize this enough. The level of performances, the level of direction, the level of the work itself, the care with which it's done. I'll send you the link to the film, Sandeep.
Please.
I think you'll enjoy seeing it.
Yeah.
The process was tough because the way they do it is it's a very rigorous training for the artists there. And they
Mhm.
had two directors. One was from Sanjay Upadhyay from the north, and one was KV Akshara, who runs the institute in Hegodu in
Mhm.
Karnataka. And they were both, Akshara had translated two plays. One is called The Merchant of Venice by Shakespeare, which of course you know. And the second one was called Legend of Bhagat Singh by Piyush Mishra, who we also know well
Right. Yeah.
as an Indian
Correct.
wonderful theatre
Yeah.
person and filmmaker. And so, Legend of Bhagat Singh and Shakespeare, Akshara had translated to wonderful translations into Kannada.
Mhm.
And then they had left the songs of Legends of Bhagat Singh in Hindi. So actually, the film itself is in Kannada and Hindi with English
Oh,
subtitles. So it's a very interesting
wonderful.
thing. And I've carried that on. I think we're multilingual in India, and I think it works very easily. People
Yeah.
may be surprised, but it works so easily. Even other Kohinoor, this
Yeah.
current film of mine,
Yeah.
it's in Dakhani, in Telugu, and
Telugu.
English. It's so
Oh,
easy. I mean, it's gone across so well everywhere. People don't feel surprised. In other parts of the world, it's surprising. But in India, it's not. It's very
yeah.
natural for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that
True.
was it. And these artists, the directors and the actors and the production crew or musicians, there's a lot of music, they all rehearse for 3 months under very strenuous, rigorous circumstances. They get up at 4, they go to sleep at 11, and they're working all day,
Mm.
except for lunch and for food breaks and
Right.
stuff like that. And then they get onto this bus onto which they load all the equipment, the stage, even the stage they carry. Huh?
Oh,
And they go for 9 months then traveling around all over Karnataka. Every
interesting.
500 miles, they do a show. So the show can be in a cowshed, it can be in a village school, it can be in an auditorium like Rangashankara in Bangalore.
Yeah.
They also go to Bombay. The only place they go outside Karnataka is to Bombay, to
Mhm.
Mumbai, to the Prithvi Theatre. They have a Festival of
I see.
India program every year, so they go there. Hmm? So this
And they
filming
still,
of this
sorry, and they
was
still follow the same format today also?
Yeah, today also
Oh,
it's the same. They're still doing
oh,
it, yes.
interesting.
When we did it, it was their 25th year, and they
Uh-huh.
really impacted the theater climate of Karnataka. It's so amazing, you
Mm.
know. And there are people from all over the world attending this festival that they hold in the Hegodu village. That's where they started. They premiere the plays, and then they start off on this Tirugata journey on the bus. So the biggest challenge was being on that bus with them. I didn't go,
Mhm.
my partner, Gautam Sonti, who's a very well-regarded Bangalore filmmaker, he went on the bus with his camera. He's an amazing camera person, and he
Mhm.
went and, stayed in all kinds of places to record this. And then he sent me the footage, and I edited it. The editing was a huge challenge because we had so
I'm
much
sure.
footage.
Yeah.
We can make 4 films out of the footage we have. We made one
Oh,
film.
right.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's just fantastic material. So these were the challenges, but the joys were that the level of work was so inspiring. These 4 young actors whom we focused on, and I went to interview the actors actually. I was part of that. I went, went to their homes, interviewed them with their parents, their families. It was really wonderful. And so putting it together was a huge challenge for me. It was my first big editing job,
Uh,
and by the grace of God, it turned out really well. It's a lovely film. So
mhm.
yeah, so that was it was challenging within the work itself, the travel, the recording of it, and then the editing of it, and the huge amount of footage. But it was so rewarding in the quality of work that we saw and did. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about your advocacy for nature. You're deeply involved in other Kohinoors, the rocks of Hyderabad. One, I want to understand a little bit more about other Kohinoors, the rocks of Hyderabad. Just tell our audience a little bit about that, and what drew you to this cause, and how do you blend advocacy with storytelling?
It's very interesting question, Sandeep. It's something I myself am working my thoughts through how to blend, creativity and advocacy. It's not an easy job. In fact,
Sure.
I just was invited to give a talk in Hyderabad by this organization, wonderful organization called Manthan.
Hmm?
And the talk was on what is called artivism. It's a very interesting term. है ना? Activism we know,
Yeah.
art we know. But artivism is a real conjoining of the two ideas. And it was
Mm.
very interesting for me to flesh out my thoughts. I'll be happy to send you that link
Please.
also.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's a very important way to work for change, I feel. From now that I'm gathering my thoughts on it after this huge journey with other Kohinoors, now we're in our 13th year of this film.
Oh, this is the
We
13th year?
started,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know that. Oh,
Yes, yes.
wonderful.
It's been a long,
Yeah,
fantastic journey with huge lows and huge highs. So, the lows I'll start with because that's what made me make the film.
sure.
Your kids and my kids know each other,
Right.
and my kids, we raised them pretty much in Hyderabad.
Mm.
We came back from America and then lived in Bangalore for a while, then Hyderabad. So they grew up in Hyderabad. And you know how, as parents, we try to keep them off the gadgets and the screen
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
thoda sa. So we
Right.
used to, in Hyderabad, where we lived in Gachibowli, there were these fantastic rock formations. I can't tell you, it's magical the way those formations were,
Hmm.
and the way nature had deposited them on the soil of Hyderabad. It was just amazing. And the kids loved it. Us parents loved it. We'd take them on picnics on the rocks. We'd go bouldering. There was a Greater Hyderabad Adventure Club that did bouldering sessions for children that we took them on. Then there's a Society to Save Rocks in Hyderabad. They did rock walks that we took them on. And it was really a marvelous way to get them in touch with nature. And it worked very well until in front of our eyes, in that decade that they were growing up, the children in Hyderabad, in Gachibowli, all those rocks went, right?
Hmm.
And of course, I'm not at all against development. I
Yeah.
know our population, we need infrastructure. I love the good roads as much as the next person. All this is, and we need houses for people to live in. We need offices for people to work in. All this is
Hmm.
absolutely fine. But the problem happens when you don't balance it with the blessings that Mother Earth has given you.
Mm.
The rocks in Hyderabad are not just beautiful, they're stunningly beautiful. No other city has it in India, and it's unique. It's a unique landscape with the rocks, the lakes, and the greenery. Hyderabad is simply unique. But and the rocks also, they help retain water, they prevent floods because they absorb the water, replenish the water table, the minerals from the rocks, enrich the soil. There's so much the rocks do for us. There's a whole stunning ecology of native flora and fauna that we are losing when we lose rocks. And that's actually what the children said when they saw the rocks go. They said, Arey, That peacock that used to always sit on that boulder, where is that peacock gone now? The
Ah,
snakes that we used to be scared of, where are those snakes gone now? If there are
mm,
no rocks, where did all those go? And the grief that the children were feeling, that's what was the prompt for this film. So I
oh,
said, "Mir, I know how to do this. This is easy for me. I have all the equipment. I can quickly make a 5-minute film.
mhm,
And that way we can show it to the kids in the colony kids only, huh? We can show it to
right.
them, or maybe in their schools we'll show it. And then we'll help them process this and process our own grief. We were so sad as parents about seeing all this, that the
Mm.
rocks were gone, not that the city was growing. It's the most vibrant, beautiful place, Hyderabad, when we were there. It was wonderful to see all that.
And
But
that
the
time, I
rocks
guess,
going,
you probably never thought that, it'll become such a big documentary, right? You initially
not
thought
at
that
all, not
I will
at all,
film it
not at all.
for my colony's kids and be with it. That's it.
You're right on. That's
Mm.
was what the plan was. And it came out of this grief. There's a wonderful
Right.
word that we found in the course of this film. There's an Australian environmental philosopher called Glenn Albrecht.
Hmm.
Huh? Yeah, just by accident, we came across his book. It's a book called New Words for a New World. Hmm.
I see.
In the context of this climate change and all the loss of nature and natural heritage that's happening, he's written this book. And he says he has this word called solastalgia.
So
ठीक है ना?
nostalgia.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's a beautiful word, and I can't say I was happy to find it, but it helped us process this grief. What it means is the grief that you feel when you see the changed face of your hometown, you know,
Mm.
that nostalgia, that grief, that feeling. And it's all over the world now. All cities are facing this, right? It's
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
one
Correct.
city.
Correct.
And so finding that word helped us process the grief, I can say, but not that I was happy to find that this word was required in the world, right?
Right. Huh.
So I wrote a series of articles in the Hindu about the content that these people told us, all geologists, folk singers, balladeers, musicians, poets, all kinds of people,
Mm.
scientists, folklorists. We met all kinds of people, artists, art collectors, art historians, all kinds of people. And the material that was coming to us, it was a treasure. It's nothing less than a treasure. And there was a huge joy in discovering this, that, all cultures all over the world, they honor their landscape in the culture.
Mm.
कहीं पे भी आप चले जाओ. If you
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
Delhi, there'll be songs about the Yamuna. There'll be
Correct.
stories about the Yamuna, right? If you go to Hyderabad, there are songs, poetry, folklore, architecture, all related to the rocks. Food. Patthar ka gosht is a wonderful dish in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
That's cooked on hot stone,
Right.
right? So that discovery was really very joyful. Understanding that it was wonderful. And so I keep saying this journey of this film, this 13, 12, 13-year-old journey,
Yeah.
it's been like a split personality journey. On one side is this grief that it's gone now. The rocks that are gone can never be brought back. It's not like a tree or anything. Even trees you shouldn't take out. But somewhere in the distance, some random hope is there that you can replant something, right?
Yeah.
But with rocks, once they're gone, it's gone. You
Oh,
can't get it back,
true.
right? So that grief and then the joy of this discovery of how cultures honor and show affection and gratitude for their landscape in every city across the world, this is a fact. Hmm? In
I know
Bangalore,
it's
there's so
but
much on lakes.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying it's difficult to measure impact of these things, but did you kind of see that after you filmed it and after you released the film, you started seeing some kind of impact on the society that okay, fine, let's kind of because this was educational to people, right? And probably
Right.
they would have stopped doing some of this or reduced it. I don't know. I mean, do you see that happening?
Hmm. Um, I can't say there's that kind of impact that
I
it's
know.
reduced. I can't say. The world is
Uh,
moving at a super fast pace in these
yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
And what I can say, the impact that I see is that there is a citizen voice that's growing. And that was the purpose of making the film.
And there's
Apart
an
from processing
awareness
for
in
the
the society
children, the
now.
grief for ourselves, and the actual joy of understanding your culture, apart from all that, there was a purpose to the film to raise awareness, right?
Yeah.
So to educate, as you say. Sandeep.
Yeah.
So that I think has had an impact.
Right.
We've now screened in about 400 schools, private and government schools, over the 2 years of outreach. So it took us 10 years to make the film. It was a city in transition. We were filming for a long time. Then editing took me a long time. Again, the same problem of all editors. We had so much footage, what to do, how to
Right.
tell the story. And then there was the issue of how long should the story be, how long should the film be. It was a real tussle. So there were several
Mm.
versions of the film made. Then funders came in, and then, all kinds of things. We did crowdfunding sessions during COVID. And actually, I request your listeners
Yeah.
to come to our website and to our YouTube channel, because we have wonderful sessions on rocks. And it sounds boring, but actually the first one was like a songs and rocks. So we
Yeah.
had, lots of songs in Hindi, Telugu, English about the song, about the rocks, that we call Geet Gaya Patharone.
Mm.
Wonderful songs. Then we did one on cooking and rocks. Okay, where how does the landscape inspire cuisine? There's a wonderful session. We did a cook along. There's a wonderful dish in Hyderabad called Safed Imli ka Salan.
Mm.
So there was a lady, a renowned chef, who taught, and people all over the world joined to cook along. And then we have a cookbook that we made out of it. It's called the Kohinoor Kitchen Cookbook. And it was also crowdfunding, right? So we asked for people to send us whatever they wanted to help us make this thing. People sent, and as a gift, we gave them this cookbook. We sent them this
Interesting.
e-cookbooks, which is
Oh,
great fun. We had the Varsi brothers, who are the most wonderful Qawwali singers in Hyderabad,
yeah.
and they sang, a most beautiful ghazal. It was amazing. So I really suggest, if people are interested, to see these sessions. They are very, very entertaining and educative and very inspiring.
Yeah, we can put it on our show
So
notes as well for people to kind of go through it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that was part of this whole process, and I think all of this has helped, because so many people have joined us on this journey, whether they sent us money, or whether they have offered to screen the film in their schools for their children, or the Telangana State Forest Academy has now
Mhm.
made it part of their curriculum. So the
Mm.
Telangana State Forest Academy trains forest officers from all over India. And
So
now every year they show this film to the forest officers,
there you go.
trainees.
So it does
It's
have some
wonderful.
impact.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we got a message on our YouTube channel. It's amazing. There's a forest officer from Gujarat, and she wrote us a message on our YouTube channel saying, "Can I have the film? I want to show it here in Gujarat."
Mm.
We said, "Of course, take it. This film is free, by the way. It's a
Right.
complete labor of love.
Yeah.
We paid for it through people who sending us money. We didn't pay. My dear friend Mahanur and I, we are not paid for it. It's a labor of love. But
Awesome.
all the musicians, all the artists in this film, we managed to give them a honorarium. It's not a great payment,
Yeah.
but it's a good honorarium. And so that was helped by all this, this process that we went through. So I think on the whole, the awareness level has gone up. The citizen momentum around these issues has gone up. And we're still, I thought, just last week, and I was in Hyderabad, and we released the film and the song free to the public. So if you come to our YouTube channel, the film is free. Anyone can see it now.
Hmm.
And we did a rap song as a Sutrathar. I think that's why this film is good and very appealing and entertaining. There's a rap song that leads you through the film. There's animations that make it very appealing to children. And the animations we've styled in local craft tradition looks,
Great.
like the Cherial painting, the Dakhani miniature painting. Then there is Bidri work. It's very famous in
Yeah.
Hyderabad.
Familiar
So
with that. Yeah.
Bidri make one story is in Bidri, one story is, and there's a shadow puppetry, shadow
Yeah.
puppetry
Yeah.
style.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's called Tolu Bamalata in Telugu. And so that style, one artist did one story. So like that, it's a very entertaining film, but it's also we have found in these years that we've been screening it, people connect emotionally to it,
Yeah.
and they respond to it. And so I think that impact is good.
Right. Right.
Whether we've stopped rocks from being saved, no, I
Yeah.
can't say
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So finally, before I let you go, just a quick 30-second question. What advice would you give to those looking to enter into the world of filmmaking and storytelling, especially in today's rapidly changing media landscape?
Do it. That's that's the advice I give. Do it. There's a world out there waiting to be documented and talked about and shared with. And if you have you have a nice look at something that you would like to share, just do it. Now it's so easy. This whole democratization of the process of filmmaking is wonderful. It's accessible. So that's would be my advice.
Okay. Uma, thank you for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey from your work in filmmaking and theater to advocacy for culture and nature. Your stories highlight the true power of creativity and storytelling. It has been
Thank
a
you, Sandeep.
privilege.
It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Uma, thank you for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey from your work in filmmaking and theater to advocacy for culture and nature. Your stories highlight the true power of creativity and storytelling. It has been a privilege to learn about your passion for empowering communities, preserving heritage, and inspiring change. We wish you the best for your upcoming projects, especially the film on the Dublin Irish landscape. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Aspire and Acquire. See you next time. Today, we are recommending an incredible documentary, Fantastic Fungi. This visually stunning documentary explores the intricate world of fungi and their profound connection to the natural world. It delves into how fungi shape ecosystems, their potential in medicine, and their role in the interconnectedness of life on Earth. It's an eye opening journey into a lesser known but essential part of our environment, perfectly aligned with the theme of nature's revelations. Happy watching.